I told you, this guy's a genius.
Self-proclaimed, maybe.
Well, as long as it works for him.
Exactly my point.
Awesome.
I'm just gonna keep going now. I stopped with boundaries, and that means that if you think, yeah, now I'm spiritually enlightened, and I smoke, I learned how to hold a cannabis ceremony, and I know how to hold a cacao ceremony, and I've already done psychedelic mushrooms, now I can invite people and we're gonna have a huge party. And you just invite people and you say, hey, it's really nice, let's do this together, and then they come. And then you just give everyone mushrooms. Well, and then somebody picks up a knife and stabs himself in the stomach. Yeah, that's what can happen, because when you take mushrooms and you connect with the underworld, you will start hearing voices, and that's almost guaranteed. And the voices are there anyway, because who tells you to smoke? If you listen to people like Terence McKenna, if you listen to people like, or read the books from Carlos Castaneda, what you realize, there are entities, they can drive you insane. And it's okay to be ignorant of this, but that doesn't mean it can't affect you. You meet people that are so sick from smoking, but they don't realize that something's driving them to smoke. Now you can of course say, well, that's spirits that possess him. You can also say it's just self-destructive behavior. It just helps them to keep the focus, right? So if I talk about a subject, I can talk about, let's look at life. I like to advertise sometimes my books simply because I liked writing them. There's one book, The Universe at Large. I like that one. One of my favorites is Truly False. Mirror, Prisoned, or something. Prison, Mirrors, and Walls? Walls, Mirrors, Prisons? I'm not quite sure. Now, what I have to say is that my books have a certain price. And I try changing them, but I don't change them. I'm just saying it. It's for you to decide. I will use the money for what I think it should be used for. I'm not sure yet. I just want to speak about these things. But in the end, you won't know what I'm going to do with it. So, when you buy a book, you should just buy it as an investment to yourself. And simply saying, I want to learn from it because I feel like there can be something gained. Now, there are people that just don't like reading books. Well, to me, it doesn't really matter. But I have put a lot of love into my books. I always put a lot of images in to just explain, but to also keep it funny, because that's what I realize. We're talking about escaping the 8. If you're stuck in this kind of loop, right? I mean, I don't know where these things are coming from, right? I'm just talking, and at some point it just connects. Because I have an open mind. You know, I actually listen to the words that I'm saying, which means that I can pick up when, oh wow, there's the topic again, right? It's like you're throwing a boomerang, and then you say, but I also don't want to point it out too much. It's actually also nice if you just speak about it without having to say what a genius you are, right? Because, you know, if somebody would realize it, you know, they could at least realize it for themselves. And then it's like, oh wow, what the fuck, he just did that? I mean, where did this come from? And now, but I can also still talk about it. Right, there was a corner and I couldn't see, which is why I just made a loop 2-3 meters onto the street so that I can have the corner and nobody just appears right in my face. So I'm not stupid. You know, I'm paying attention when I walk around at night. I consult my feeling. You know, there were moments like in I think the night is angry with me. You know, what's the night? It's the feminine side. It's the chaos also. The primordial soup of the universe, whatever. You know, it's like the, how do you call that? It's called the ether. You know, it's like the uterus or something. You know, that's the universe. It's all the dark stuff, and then the light shines into it. You know, if it would only be dark, and there are probably times where it's just really dark and the world is asleep. But I think there's always, and that's probably then the yin and yang. There's never just darkness. There's never just darkness. But it's like kind of swirling into each other. So you have areas where, you know, if you're like outside and you're out of balance, you know, if you're in the middle of the yin and yang, then you're you know, you can be either in the light or in the darkness. But even when you're just in the light, because it goes like this, it's like two spirals kind of going into each other, you know, the light and the dark, you know, then you can call that the double helix, or the kundalini snakes twisting around each other. You know, this is just some of the stuff that, you know, I just needed the words, which is why I listen to people and they give me the words, and then when I talk about it, I can simply say what I feel like I know already anyway, but now I can express it. And you can simply tell that if somebody doesn't know how to do this, you could never talk for so long. So if you meet somebody who can just keep talking and keep talking, you know that he really has experiences. Because if you get to an end with your explanations, then you only knew what you read. Because if you have an inquisitive mind, then you can simply keep going, because you just keep picking. You know, oh yeah, oh wow, that was also, because I've, you know, worked for all of these insights. And I just know how to always go, you know, left and right, left and right, left and right. You go left, you go right, you go left, you go right. You know, I don't always go left, because then I'm in a circle. So if every time the option comes, you know, cannabis, you know, I feel like this, cannabis, I get home, cannabis, I wake up, cannabis, 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 boom, you know, and then you're gonna crack. And it's the same in work. If it's only work for you, you know, you've got, let's say 24 hours, but time's relative, so every day is eternity for you, and all your eternity is only, you know, work, work, work. You know, that's the only thing your mind is set on. Work, 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 work. Because you feel good, right? Oh yeah, when I work, I feel really good. You know, work, 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 work. So what are you gonna do? Work. And what if you retire? Well, nothing. So, you know, I don't see the point of ever retiring, because if you start doing what you like and you invest more time into the things that you like, then from what would you ever retire? Because then suddenly your work isn't going to the, you know, supermarket and working as a cashier, or being a environmental consultant for companies, or I don't know, being a stockbroker or doing YouTube content, you know, then that's not the only thing for you. It's not the only reason. So let's say then, okay, let's just say, you know, YouTube would ban you, or let's say the internet would suddenly stop existing because you simply like, let's say, you know, you can be an ambulance driver and your whole existence is just being the ambulance driver. But your existence could be simply a communicator, or your thing could be, you know, if it's sadhana, you just serve. Yeah, you just serve and you look at what could I do. Now, if you know nothing about computers, but you like them and you want to work with them, then you could like really go into this. All right? Then you could really go into this. Yeah, now I want to take this off because it stopped raining. And I don't want too much attention at the moment. Like, not in cities anyway. You know, I'm not too worried about it. But, you know, I don't have to be always extreme. You know, I don't have to be extreme about everything. So you can wear your backpack extremely high or extremely low, or just try to find it, position it somewhere in the middle. What I realize is that when you're hiking, just want to keep talking now. If you keep hiking, you realize that there are times when you just want to wear your backpack a little bit higher. And then there are times where you want to wear it a little bit lower. And then you can even wear it over one shoulder and then sometimes over the other. Because I get to this place where, oh wow, you know, where it starts feeling really uncomfortable wearing. And what I also realized, you know, when you pack your backpack, you make sure that the weight is, you know, I'm just saying, as much as you can, evenly distributed. And what's some also could be annoying, which is something I have to adjust now, you know, it's like stuff dangling around. There's nothing worse than, you know, this dongle has this hand sling, and I don't like it around my hand. I don't like it around my wrist, you know. I have a sturdy grip. Okay, if I would go now and jump on things or, you know, cycle with it, but what I feel like cycling with it is a bit too stupid, but I just don't want to wear a helmet. Oh wow, yeah. So now I just want to take off this cap because it makes me feel like I'm a shady person. And, you know, I just maintain a very observant, yeah, I don't know how to say this now, observant in terms of, I just try to be observant with myself. That if I realize I'm getting a little bit too shady and I walk around wearing caps, then this will create a shady atmosphere around myself. And then I'm just gonna be like sunk into myself. And sometimes you meet people that just draw you out and then make you, wow, my legs are really, really sturdy, but they're also really, really sensitive. Because if you also walk on concrete, you know, it's like you're pounding yourself into shape. And sometimes you're like so forceful in your stride because maybe you just want to get home and you just want to hurry all the time, that you stop paying attention to how you actually feel. And that's a very valid point. You know, I'm gonna just make shorter videos now, because I realized if I start talking, there's a lot of stuff in there. People just have to, you know, be able to process that. Plus, the longer my videos, the more I have to make, you know, the more hikes I have to make. And I just want to make sure that I also still, you know, that I'm a little bit gentle with myself. Because I can give a lot, I know that now, but how much do I really need to give? If I get better at talking and explaining what I'm trying to say, because I learned to distance myself a little bit from all my emotional problems, then I can be very concise without having to make a fuss about the exquisitery, you know, of words or whatever. But that's just my own perspective. You know, I can talk around the bush, you know, or you just get down to it. If you're having a lot of fights in your relationship, then you probably should have sex. And if you feel like you repulse each other for whatever reason, then you can either communicate it and allow the relationship to grow and go to the next level, because it's either you're gonna have a child now and really do this thing where you simply, you know, learn to do tantra with each other. Just pushing and pulling, you know. If your wife comes and she keeps picking fights, then it means that you should invest more into this relationship between each other. And if you have children, right, I mean, when you come home and you're dead from your job, then you have to find ways to be less dead, which is, what's making you so heavy? Is it your thoughts? Is it your colleagues? Is it your habit of smoking? Is it your habit of drinking? Is it the food that you eat? I'm gonna pause this.